Hey everybody, Jeff Mason with SimpleBiz360 podcast, episode 37, July 2nd, right before the July 4th weekend. Thank you, Mason, for that great intro. That's my grandson that says that. And we just really appreciate his contribution. It's kind of fun to have the grandkid involved. At any rate, hey, we're coming to you from stlewispodcast.com. And they are broadcasting, taking care of the boards rather in Chesterfield, Missouri, at the headquarters of Vi Media. And we are coming to you from Studio B in the basement again. So great show. We're going to do this show. Hang in there with me on this. It's going to be short, but it's going to be really fun. It's reciprocate. Guys, this is so important to me, and I really just want to flesh this out a little bit. But, I've really noticed over the years, and I'll tell you how I noticed being a runner, I've noticed that reciprocation is falling off gradually, almost decade by decade. What do I mean by that? You used to pass almost everybody running, say, hey, how are you doing? Good. How about you, man? Great. Hey, how you doing? Good. How about you? Hey, runner, what's going on? How far are you going? All that kind of thing. And then over the decades, it just got less and less and less. And so I really, I latched onto this for my book, and I really knew I was going to write this. So about 4 years ago, I started working with a guy. And, sometimes you just know the type of people. And I said to myself, I'm going to chart this. I'm going to chart how many times he reciprocates with me in conversation. Now, you're talking about a guy that I work with every day, probably exchanged 15, 18 emails with every day, probably spent 6 weeks on the road with this guy a year for 3 years. And I will tell you, in 3 years, I was asked 3 reciprocating questions. In other words, how was your weekend? Great. We did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. Never asking me how my weekend was. Now, as an employee, as a worker, as a 1099 commission rep, that's fine. But when you engage with your customers, and if your customers initiate that with you and you don't reciprocate or you don't show any interest with them right out of the gate, it's bad news bears. They're gonna say, you know what, I don't know, maybe I should look for another. But I've had some problems with this person, and they've taken care of the problems, but they never ask me how I'm doing, never ask me how my weekend was. They never ask. I'll give you another example. I was with a gentleman not too long ago for a whole week, and I picked him up at Monday night in an airport, and I sensed about this person too. So it took until Thursday at 2 p.m. for that person to volley a question back to me, and I was just baiting him. So I practically asked him what his favorite color was, but I asked him what his favorite season was, and he told me. And at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, he finally asked me the first reciprocating question. So why do I tell you this? Why do I spend time on this? It is something that is in decline in society, and I believe, in my heart of hearts, it's in decline in large part due to a whole stew of things. Like, our schedules are so busy, we're multitasking every which way, our companies are asking more of us, our families have more splintered situations, got to take the kids here, pick them up there, drop them off here, do this, do that. There's so many things colliding with our daily life that didn't collide with us in the 1990s or the 80s or 70s or 60s. And we're in this situation where I believe that a lot of times we think we're engaging with people, and in our mind we do it, but it doesn't come out of our mouths. And I'll give you a simple form of reciprocation where you can start this process if you want. That's a voluntary thank you. I will tell you right now, I spend a lot of time doing things for people as a sales rep. And I will tell you, in 35 years, I have seen just a common courtesy thank you go by the wayside. It just doesn't come. I'll fly with 4 people out to Denver. We'll sit down in a meeting. We've prepared for weeks for this meeting. And the meeting ends, and everybody at the conference table gets up and leaves the meeting. No one says, hey, safe trip back, guys. Thanks for coming in. It's just like, boom, got things to do later. I mean, okay, I'm a vendor. I can deal with that. But if you're the vendor and you're looking for repeat and referral customers, guys, please start to think about this. Practice it at home, practice it in your neighborhoods, practice it at church. And listen, I'm still guilty of it. Trust me, I struggle with this myself. I'm not saying I have this down. I struggle with it because I have to constantly remember, did I ask that person how their weekend was? And you know what? There are quite a few times where I never ask that person reciprocating questions. And in fact, sometimes I call them after our time together, or I'll email them and say, I'm so sorry. You told me all about your trip, or you asked me all about my trip. And I told you all about it. I never asked you about yours. I'm so sorry. So guys, it's just something that, and just think about some simple things. How was your weekend, Jeff? Oh, it was great. Blah, 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 blah. How about yours? Hey, how was your night last night? Hey, how did you like that restaurant? Hey, have you gone to any? You tell them, and then you say, hey, have you gone to any restaurants lately? So did you go to a movie recently, Jeff? Yeah, I saw this. That. Hey, how about you? What's your favorite? What movie have you gone to see recently? Or, things like that. Just how are you? You answer and volley back with a how are you? And you may think this is trite. You may want to dial off and go, this is garbage. But you know what? Dale Carnegie even focused on this. And he said, you're basically, it's a form of showing genuine interest in people. And people buy from people they like. And if they don't like you, if you come off narcissistic, if you come off, it's all about me, 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 and it's not sharing and asking the customer to engage with you about them, you're not doing yourself or your business any service. Harvey Mackay wrote a great book called How to Swim at the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive. Harvey Mackay owns an envelope company up in Minneapolis area. And he has the Mackay 66, and he has a beautiful portfolio of 66 questions he wants his key account managers to answer and collect on every one of their big major accounts, so that you have 66 pieces of information about that person, so you can engage in meaningful conversation and engage in that courteousness that makes customers feel like, wow, you know what, this girl really is interested in me, my life, my kids, my alma mater, my hobbies, my vacations, my weather, whatever the case may be. But I'm just appealing to you. Reciprocation is something, and it's a human element that if you start practicing it and using it just everywhere else, you'll be very, very surprised at some of the benefits of it. But a mere thank you. Start there. Thank people for time and effort that they've put in. Even if you don't like what the end result was, at least thank them, because you know what? They put out their time and effort. And if you don't show respect for your customers' time, they will recognize that. Remember, the silent business killers, they don't always come back and tell you that they're upset with you. They just, poof, they disappear. And you wonder where they went, and they don't want to share it with you. So just think about it, guys. Those two examples from up front, I knew I was with those kind of people, and you know what? They're nice people. They are. It's just that, they don't really give two hoots about my weekend or my family or how if I had a good time doing anything. It's just all business, and it's boom, straightforward. We can't do that when we're dealing with customers and we're running our own business and expecting that person to come back for more. So just throw it out there, reciprocate, start small, work your way up, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to, since it's July 2nd and July 4th is right around the corner, we're going to dip back to a band called Boston. And Boston was a hard-hitting, really kind of pop rock, but just it had a cool sound out of the town of Boston themselves. But in 1997, they actually put this on a best of album. It was the Star Spangled Banner. It's an instrumental. And so we are going to give you up in the corner of the screen the link to that Star Spangled Banner. So enjoy it. Have a great July 4th weekend. I hope you and your family stay safe. I hope everybody's, coming out of this COVID situation nicely. And, just ask you to please be safe if you're on the roads traveling. Just this is the time of year when a lot of car accidents occur. So just, pay attention, be safe. And guys, that profitability, those sand crystals are representative of small little pieces of change. All those little pieces of change, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters add up. And man, hold on to that. That's your hard-earned profit, right? And keep making customers happy, because the happier they are, the more they come back, the more they tell about other people about your business. So start reciprocating, start saying thank you today. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining with us. We would love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you'd like. You can just find the little pinwheel icon on the screen if you're watching it on YouTube. Hover over it and just click subscribe. We'd love to have you as a weekly a guest of ours. Thanks again. Have a great week.